Hello, welcome to Marlene at Home. And I'm Marlene from Carroll County Public Library, North Carroll Branch. And my episode today is called Camp Memories. Hello, Mother. Hello, Father. Here I am at Camp Granada. Camp is very entertaining. And they say we'll have some fun if it stops raining. There's an old song for you. And it's a song about a young boy that went to camp, and he's writing his letter home to his parents on the first day, mind you. The verses go on to say that they've got a search party out for a boy that's missing. Another child had something wrong, I think, in swimming. He's sick, and then at the end of the song, he says, the sun just came out, it's going to be a lot of fun, and please disregard this letter. And so I wonder about you. Did you go to camp? Do you have camp memories? What do you remember? What type of camp did you go to? Was it a theme camp? Was it like a Western camp or horseback riding camp? Was it a music camp, a sports camp? Maybe you went with an organization like Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. My good friend Margaret always talked about her years at Girl Scout camp and how she had lifelong friends from Girl Scout camp when she was just a young girl. Or maybe you went to like a general or a classic camp. Were there boys and girls there, or just girls camp? I went to an all-girls camp when I was younger. Maybe it was a church camp. Did you sleep over, or was it more of a day camp? Was it in the great outdoors, or was it like at a YMCA in an inner city? There's all different kinds of camps. Was your camp near home, or was it a totally different setting and you rode for a while? Maybe you were in the great outdoors. Was it rustic? Or did you have air conditioning and you had the latest and the greatest facilities? Was it big? Was it small? All kinds of different camps, and even more so today. Some of the highlights or components of camp that I brought to mind thinking about it is how you have to leave home, leave your parents, leave your family, leave your routine. You might be in the great outdoors, you might not. Food plays a big part about camp. My little going into first grade grandson just came home from camp, and I asked him what his favorite thing was, and he said the food. I said, well, what was your favorite food? He said macaroni and cheese and cookies. So there you go, diet for a week. Music would have been involved. Silly camp songs, serious songs, swimming's usually involved. There's an element of your independence as a child going to camp. Maybe you went with a friend or a sibling. Weather plays a part. Was it hot? Was it cold? Was it rainy your week? What about storms? Often thunderstorms in the late afternoon. The friendships that you make with other campers and with staff members. The fun, the laughter, learning new things, learning new skills, team building and challenges. Maybe there was a ropes course or an obstacle course that really scared you. Or how about the fun adventure of mail call, or the camp store where you got to spend your money that your mom left with you? Were you a first-timer at camp, or were you a returning camper? You're going to need you're going to learn some new disciplines, like you got to be up at whatever hour they set, lights out at another hour, no TV or devices, or not all the things you're used to at home. Maybe your flashlight is your best buddy. So you're going to be totally unplugged. Maybe you couldn't bring your favorite teddy bear. Then there's things like poison ivy, or bad weather, as we've mentioned before, or homesickness. Were you the homesick type? Or this is the scariness of darkness, a strange bed, crazy noises. Did you sleep in a cabin or a tent? Or maybe it was a covered wagon? Was it real far from the bathroom? Things like that. Was the bed comfy? So, all different components to camp. I was 7 years old when I went to camp for the first time. I went to Camp Sandy Cove Girls Camp in Northeast Maryland. It was right on the Northeast River near the Chesapeake. And my church would choose a week, and all of us kids at church that would want to go to camp would sign up for the same week. And I went with my friend Sally, and I was so excited. This was my first time away from home. Of course, my mother cried when she dropped me off. My mom was a young widow of 2 years when I went to camp, and Anyway, I went, was so excited. Unfortunately, my friend Sally, who was going to be my cabin mate, she went home very homesick on the second day, so I didn't have Sally, but I was so fortunate. It was Christmas week. Each week at camp there, it was a theme, and so it was Christmas week, and of course, I am a Christmas girl. I remember we put our shoes outside the cabin one night, and we learned about all these different Christmas traditions around the world, and I think that was Norwegian or Scandinavian, and we put our shoes out, and then in the morning we were so excited to go out, and they were filled with candy. I remember the counselors put on Dickens' Christmas Carol, and I was so mesmerized by it. But there was a very bad thunderstorm that night. The electric went out. It just led to the story about spirits of Christmas past. We would snuggle up and just be all close together, and there's crashes of thunder. And that's how I just, when I read the Christmas Carol by Dickens, I get that same feeling. Of course, there was a lot of fun things. There was my counselor, Sandy, who I love. I remember that there was I think it's called Reveille, that the trumpet plays in the morning, and it would come, this was a large camp, and it would come broadcast over like a crackly intercom system. Oh, it was just a wonderful way to wake up. Anyway, I'm not a morning person, but then you had to jump out of bed, get dressed, because you had room inspection. You couldn't have a sheet hanging out underneath those little metal frame bunk beds. It was just like, hurry, 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 run to the flagpole. You could not be late to the flagpole. I don't know what happened if you were. But anyway, flagpole ceremonies to get our day started. There were things like I would go to crafts, I would go swimming. Oh, speaking of crafts, maybe you would make something like this that my granddaughter made me, some easy rubber band crafts at camp. Anyway, things I remembered were the bug juice, never heard of that before, the Sandy Cove stew, very, very famous. It was Velveeta cheese, ground beef, bacon, white potatoes, and legend has it, it must have a pinch of dirt in it. Don't know if it's true, but that was the story they told. Anyway, I did archery, swimming. I love the smell of sitting around a campfire, and the camp songs, like this one. Sandy Cove, camp I love, rocks and reels of beauties that are from above, sky so blue, friends so true, take me back to camping days at Sandy Cove. See, it doesn't leave you. Years, 60 plus years since. Or this one. I know a boys' camp 5 miles away where they serve rotten food 3 times a day. Oh, how the campers yell when they hear that dinner bell. Oh, how the food does smell 5 miles away. 5 miles away was Sandy Cove's boys' camp, and we heard lots about it. Here's a more recent picture of Sandy Cove looking out onto the Northeast River that leads out to the Chesapeake. Beautiful views there. Now, my husband, Paul, has had many more years of camping experience. He started as a young child going to Bethel Camp in South Carolina because his dad was the director of what's believed to be the first camp for African Americans in South Carolina. That camp is now 80 years old. But Paul's dad was the director. He would go and buy all the food for the campers. He would lead the program, did it for a number of years. Paul's mom was the camp nurse and the director of the kitchen, did all the cooking, and I hear that the most requested recipe she made were her cheesy potatoes. But there, Paul was a lifeguard. He helped sometimes with maintenance in the off season. And the story that we remember most from his time at Bethel is after the workers were done cleaning up the kitchen after dinner, they were sitting around in the kitchen talking. Paul was sitting up on the stove. There was a bad thunderstorm. A bolt of lightning hit Paul, kicked him off of the stove. A ball of fire ran down his chest. Others reported he was knocked unconscious. And what we say now is that explains a lot. And we laugh, but it really wasn't funny back then. Here's a picture of the Wenzel family at Bethel Camp. Here, there's only 5 of the kids here in this picture. His oldest brother, Charles, is not in this picture, and I think the younger two haven't been born yet. Paul is one of 8 children, and he's the one in the center in front of his dad. And here's a picture of Bethel Camp. This picture is from their website this year. A little bit of an overview of the camp today. Anyway, at Bethel, it was a very basic camp. Paul said he had his happiest memories there as well as his hottest memories. They had army tents, surplus tents, kind of that heavy green, brown, canvas kind of tent. He said it was the hottest way to sleep. And you couldn't open anything or the mosquitoes would come in and eat you alive. There was no air. So he remembers those. He moved on from Bethel to become a staff member at Camp Agape in South Carolina during his high school years. He was a counselor, sometimes a lifeguard. That was a very basic rustic camp as well, but lots of kids, lots of fun times. Then he, in his college years, started working at Triple R Ranch, a western camp, very large camp, wonderful facilities, big horse camp. And it was on the Dismal Swamp, and you've heard me talk about before how he asked me to marry him while he was canoeing down the Dismal Swamp, a very dark, scary place for me. But anyway, he was a canoeing instructor there, he was a counselor, he was a lifeguard as needed. He also led overnight expeditions of boys canoeing down the Dismal Swamp out to the Chesapeake, as well as, can't name it. He says the weirdest sounds you ever hear are at night in the Dismal Swamp. He was there for several years, and in his final year there, he was the director of the junior staff, of overseeing over 30 to 40 high school workers there at the camp. He said what that summer taught him is that he never wanted to be a youth pastor. Also, Paul's known for singing funny camp songs, and I don't know why I decided to do this early in the morning with my voice cracking. But anyway, I couldn't talk him into singing his camp songs or talking about his camp experiences. But here's one of his most requested camp songs that people want him to sing. Granny's in the cellar, goodness, can't you smell her making biscuits on that good old country stove. Her eyes are dripping matter and it's falling in the batter, and the is running down her nose, down her nose, down her nose. The sniff is running down her nose. Her eyes are dripping matter and the is running in the batter, and the is running down her nose. See, I didn't do a good job at all. You'll have to get him to sing it sometime. Another song, because I can't remember one line of the song, is the Rancher song. Matter of fact, a friend of ours, George Murray, a university president, wrote this when he was a kid. It's called the Rancher song, and Paul used to bounce our girls on his knee. I want to be a rancher, and it goes all on, but I can't remember all the words. I tried to call my kids last night. But anyway, you'll have to ask Paul to sing the Rancher song for you sometime. Here's the picture from Triple R Ranch. This is when Paul was the counselor of the Wrangler's cabin. It's one of my favorite pictures of him. This was around the time that we first started dating, and he was a counselor of a cabin of small boys. I kind of cut them out of the picture, but I just love this picture of my guy. Camps have really changed since our era. There's now all these theme camps. So you can go to sports camps and other sport, music camps, ballet camps, you name it. I remember our youngest went to a camp our oldest, when she was very young, to a camp in New Jersey, Alawassa, that was built on a cranberry bog. And I remember they had this really neat little train that the kids and their luggage would get on, so there was no tearful parent, departure kind of thing. And the kids loved it. It was like getting on an amusement ride, and they're leaving. And I think I had a lump in my throat leaving my child, much like my mother. But anyway, then Megan, when we moved to this area, Megan went to one of the largest camps in Maryland, River Valley Ranch, located right here in northern Carroll County. And She began, going as a camper, began a relationship with our family in River Valley Ranch up to the present day. So I think she might have been 10 when she went to River Valley, and my kids have been out there ever since. The girls worked at River Valley from ninth grade up through Carrie, even in med school, was still there. I think they've done a variety of things. One year, Carrie was the pianist and did a lot with music. They've been in the kitchen crew. Carrie was a nurse. She was assisting the RNs. She did that up through medical school and after her first year of medical school. So it's a Christian ranch camp, kind of has a Western theme. They have so many different camps. My girls, Megan helped the first year get adventure camp started for girls. A few years later, she helped pilot the program for day camp for younger children that don't stay overnight. In the many years of working there, Megan met her husband, Brad. They stayed later for a few years on staff and then left for another ministry. But 2 years ago, they came back and are on staff. He is on staff there as the director of program on the leadership team. I have to say, River Valley Ranch gave my daughters a wonderful work ethic. There was no way that I could ever get them up at 4 or 5 a.m. every morning to get ready to go cook in a hot kitchen, make food for campers, then stay hours after a meal to clean it all up, and then maybe have an hour or so break, and then it's time to come back and start the next meal. But my girls loved it. And so things like cleaning bathrooms and toilets that overflow and, learning all kinds of scenarios in camping that need to be tended to. River Valley Ranch is a very large camp, has many programs. They've been around for years. I think this is about 60 years or maybe more. Anyway, they have many programs. They have great facilities, horses. They're a lot like the Triple R Ranch where Paul worked during his college years in Virginia. Now my grandkids are going there this summer. Kids 7 to 17 can go to River Valley Ranch. There are so many different camps out there. My youngest grandsons just went for a cadet camp. There's a cadet junior. There's where you can just a preview camp where you just go for 2 nights and try camp. There's a day camp off-site. I talked about how Megan helped pilot that years ago. Now it's gotten so large, it's this year off-site. There's a classic camp. There's horseback riding. There's a higher level of working with horses, trail riding. There's adventure camps. And at the range, they have so many things. They have ropes courses, they have obstacle courses, they have zip lines, they have rock climbing walls. But of course, COVID for all camps has made it a big challenge. I know River Valley Ranch, they said they haven't had a camper there for like 615 days. But they are really committed this year. They have 2 goals: to make camp happen and to keep camp on. And so they're just doing all kinds of things, bending over backwards to honor the state and county COVID rules. So that's a good thing to check out this summer if you're looking into sending a loved one to camp. Last year they finished this great new camp buildings instead of the old kind of wooden cabins they had just about since the first days the camp opened. They've now, they're beautiful stone structures. They're patterned after Fort Laramie out west. They have air conditioning. They have a basement where kids can go if there's a bad storm. So many new things out there. And by the way, I realized long ago that I'm not the bugs, humidity type person, so my camping days ended rather soon. But I think I could do that River Valley Ranch air conditioning camp. That'd be up my alley. But anyway, there's all kinds of other camps. I was trying to remember all the different things our grandkids have done. One daughter went to cheerleading camp. Their church in Ohio offers all kinds of different theme camps during the summer. One of our girls went to a baking cooking camp, and out of that, our 2 granddaughters started a little cupcake business, and it's called Cooper's Cupcakes, named after our dog that's running around here. Last week, our oldest granddaughter went to cello camp. So there's just such a variety that you can look for in camps. So think about your camp memories. Remember your times around the campfire. Remember your silly songs and try to sing them 60 years later at the crack of dawn out here trying to beat the summer heat. Today is going to be like 95, 97 degrees. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed looking back at camp memories. Thanks for joining me. Here's my soon-to-be first grader at his first overnight week at River Valley Ranch, and it looks like he's signing his cabin's flag. He had a great week. He's the one that loved the macaroni and cheese and the cookies. Here's our granddaughter Avery after her second day of cello camp, never having touched a cello before that, playing her first song at home for her family.
And I'm playing the Mississippi Alligator Variation.